Hello everyone, this is Farhad. I represent Think Higher Consultants. Today I'm going to discuss about Engineers Australia Experience Assessment. Mostly all of us are aware how this Engineers Australia CDR documents work and everything. So before we proceed about discussing how to get your employment assessed, we will wait for a few minutes for our guests to join, and then we will start our session. So in the meantime, I will play one video, and then we will start from there.
Registered education and migration consultants offer following services: student visas, admissions, change of course of provider, skilled migration visas, temporary activity visas, employer sponsored visas, partner visas, parent visas, health cover for all types of visas, visitor tourist visas, business visas, NATI CCL preparation classes, professional year programs, IELTS and PT classes, coaching programs for new education and migration agents, and many more.
Contact Think Higher Consultants provide personalized and on-spot services leads to permanent visa pathways and Australian citizenship. Facebook/Think Higher Consultants. Twitter/Think Higher House. Instagram/Think Higher Consultants.
Thank you very much. Whoever is watching, welcome. So just to repeat, Farhad, I represent Think Higher Consultants. So today I'm going to discuss about Engineers Australia Experience Assessment. All of us are aware how the CDR pathways work. But in terms of experience assessment, some most particularly if you have good amount, a couple of years of experience, and you want those experience to be assessed to Engineers Australia, you need to follow certain rules and standard for that, particularly in terms of documentation and presentation. So before we start, so I'll just again tell you that we are ThinkHack Consultants. We are located at level 3, 105 Queen Street, Melbourne, Big 3000. You can also check our contact details from the ticker as well. So this application is at thinkhack.com.au. The contact details are also provided. So without any further delay, so I'll share my screen. I'm just waiting for it to pop in so that we know when to start. So on Facebook, it comes a little bit later. So yes, I could see it's on my screen now. So well, I'll start the PowerPoint presentation shortly. So yes, I could see. So I'll provide you a basic outline of the session. So at first, I'll be discussing the documents type, what will be the requirements, and how you can prepare it. Then there will be a few important points on the application. After that, I'll jump into a break for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll run some of our promotional videos and what sort of service we are providing. This will also give you an opportunity to prepare your questions for us at the end. We will also discuss on how to get your experience assessed for self-employment, particularly for people who are doing their jobs on ABN. Then there will be a Q&A session for this. So let's start. So type of documents which we need. So usually, these documents are divided into two parts. Number one would be primary documents, and certainly if there is a primary, then the secondary will follow, which we'll be discussing anyway. So primary documents, experience letter. So indicate at least 5 main specific duties undertaken, job title or position. So just make sure that these job duties are provided based on your employment. For example, just don't go for any sort of generic description from the different websites. Make it more, keep it more relevant and easy to understand. For example, let me give you an example. Maybe you are a civil engineer and involved in with a company which is involved in the structural designing. So don't go for any sort of design any sort of duties which are aligned with probably roads and highway, let's say. Although these are also, yes, we can connect it with the construction, just make sure that it is more relevant, because on the website they will provide job duties for different sectors of civil engineering, and you cannot be involved in all the sectors over there. Secondly, indicate the exact period of employment. Just most of the cases which we have seen, that they just mention that from since, let's say, August 2019 till present. So there should be an exact date, that which date of August. Some people start from maybe 1st of August. Let's say 1st of August was a public holiday, or maybe over the weekends. So you started from 3rd of August. So you have to make sure that you're putting the exact date, because if you are claiming experience points as well, particularly for Australian experience, date actually matters the most, because based on that you will be awarded the point. So without the proper date, you will not be able to get any point. You will not be able to provide any sort of specific date on the expression of interest. And let's say if you put a random date, and then later if you receive the invitation and then you have to apply, then if the dates don't match, the case officer might refuse a visa. So don't take that risk. Number three, yes, be endorsed or dated by the manager or direct supervisor, whoever is in charge. So anyone can do it. Just make sure that it's not that letter on just a blank MS Word file. You need to make sure that you are providing something official. So it needs to be on the company's letterhead. Whether you are in Australia, whether you are overseas, it's the same format you need to follow. The email address should be there as well, and you need to make sure that the email address is the official one, not that the Gmail one. Yes, to some extent, Gmail could be applicable, particularly for overseas experience, but not necessarily that it will be the same case for everything. Particularly, for example, in Australian experience, there should be an email address based on the company's domain. Then comes indicate full-time, part-time, number of work hours, pay rate. Pay rate, you might skip it, but it depends whether if you're comfortable with that. Sometimes your employer might say that no, we have to mention the pay rate. So this is our company's policy. So don't get into any sort of argument with that. Just make sure that okay. So but it needs to be mentioned whether it was full-time or part-time, because at least 20 hours of per week should be okay. But certainly if someone is working full-time, then it's better that you mention that one as well. And the last one, which I have already mentioned earlier, include company's stamp if applicable. Sometimes after getting it and printed on the company's letterhead, in some of the companies they put a separate stamp as well. It is highly unlikely in Australian experience, but it would be applicable for overseas experience. If that is the way, so let it be, but just make sure that it is printed on an official document. I'll go to the next slide, and I'll wait for Facebook to show. Yes, it's there. So secondary documents must cover the whole employment period. So whatever you are providing, you need to provide, let's say, income tax return acknowledgement or receipt, or notice of tax assessment should be fine. If you have anything from your country, whatever the standard format of the tax return documents, it should be provided. And let's say if you are trying to, particularly for overseas experience, people usually go for more than 3 years of experience, because that actually starts, this is the duration from where you will start to get points for your PR. If it is less than 3 years, there is no point of going for the experience assessment anyway, and people usually don't go for that unless if someone has any sort of chance of applying for 482 with 2 years of experience, but that comes in later stage. So usually if it's about 3 years or 4 years, let's say you started the job from 2017, and then you worked till 2020 before coming to Australia on either on a student visa or either on partner visa, or whatever it is. So the documents should contain the whole employment period. If there is something missing on a specific year, Engineers Australia might not accept it. So then also comes social security insurance if applicable. For overseas, then provident fund is there. In Australian experience, superannuation is most of the time is always available when you are getting paid on TFN. Your employer will be providing that information to you anyway, so you can download your superannuation statement over there. Then comes the work permit or residence permit if applicable, or you provide the official contract document from Ministry of Labor. So this thing will make things a bit complicated because it won't be an easy task to get those documents straight away. But in any case, whatever suits you, secondary documents will be required anyway. So some important notes which I would like to mention based on what I have discussed so far. So statutory declaration is not accepted. If you are unable to provide any sort of experience, employment letter, there are some skill assessing bodies which may accept a statutory declaration. Engineers Australia may not accept it. In most of the cases, you need to check with the case officer. It may vary from case to case basis. For example, now during this COVID pandemic, there might be some exemption on that, but you need to keep in mind that just be ready for the worst case scenario that the state deck won't work. So it's better to gather the standard documents. Number two, work experience before completing academic qualification. Sometimes people do that. People were involved in part-time employment or something like that, but Engineers Australia, in most of the cases, they won't accept it. So your experience should be at least 20 hours or more. So payslip should reflect that, because if you're submitting payslips, then certainly it will mention that how many hours you work. And your experience letter should also mention that thing. Let's say if your experience letter says that you work maybe 38 hours and then the pay slips don't reflect that, then this is an inconsistency in the information. So there could be two outcome for that. Case officer might refuse your application straight away, or to some extent, or to in different cases, they might say that okay, we can give him a chance or give her a chance. They might request an explanation for that. But it's better that you prepare this decision ready application just to avoid any sort of delays or some to get a good impression on the case officer. After all, they are also human beings. So we usually encourage to submit a decision ready file. Once again, just to repeat, we are pretty good in terms of submitting Engineers Australia applications. So we are one of the experts in we can say the whole Australia. And people are getting confused about how to submit the Engineers Australia applications, and at the end of the day, they come to us and we have our expert team to guide them properly. So if you are interested in getting either your skill assessment done based on qualification or experience, so just feel free to give us a call or email us, which we have already provided. Getting back to this important notes, just to remember, as some of them, if you're doing an engineering PhD or you're working as a research assistant or fellowship, while doing it or doing a PhD, then this experience will not be counted, because in most of the cases, if you are doing a PhD, you are receiving a stipend which is tax-free. So therefore, it will not be counted as an experience. Then lecturer engineering department is not counted. So let's say you are teaching as a lecturer at the university in the engineering department. Like university lecturer is a different skilled occupation. It is under a different scope code, so it is assessed by VETASIS. So Engineers Australia will not assess your lecturer position under your Engineers Australia experience assessment, even if you are teaching engineers. I'll take a small pause before I get back to the next session. So in the meantime, I'll just take a quick look if we have any sort of question from the audience. If you have just joined, so just to let you know that we are discussing about Engineers Australia experience assessment. If you are an engineer, whether you have experience from Australia or from overseas, and you want proper guidance to get your skill assessment, and get your experience assessed through Engineers Australia to claim points for your PR. So we are actually quickly discussing on how to get it done through Engineers Australia. All right. So we will jump into the next module. So in most of the cases, people they ask that, okay, so maybe I was working on ABN, so I wasn't provided any sort of pay slips. So I was just raising invoices. So in that case, am I eligible to get those experiences? The answer is yes, you are. But certainly you need to prove that. You need to claim this thing that yes, you are actually doing something like that, and you have enough documentary evidence for the same. So just quickly wait for them to come back. Just can't see thing. I'm still waiting for Facebook to show my slide. They are pretty slow, quicker than that. Okay. Now, if you're self-employed, the primary documents, again, it comes here. There should be letters from the contracting employers or clients on the official headline stating your details. It should be the employer's name should come first, then the main engineering duties are task performed, exact date of period of employment, exactly the same format which I mentioned before for the experience letter, number of hours worked per week, and then there comes the salary level of paid. Invoices, and certainly if you are an independent contractor, if you're working on ABN for any sort of engineering firms or companies, then you will be raising the invoices for the service rendered. So to make sure that this one is also properly endorsed. It's just not an arbitrarily created on different websites which may not have enough evidence to show that actually you were involved in this. Sometimes Engineers Australia may ask for organizational chart as well, that how many staff were employed in their occupations, and organizational chart should reflect that. It's not something mandatory, but there is a chance they might ask that. If ThinkHired does any sort of service based on the ABN, then we would certainly recommend to provide organizational chart, because that actually creates a good impression on the case officer and it might be a hassle-free application. I'll wait for the next one. And in the next slide, I'll be discussing about secondary documents. So I'll just wait for Facebook to show my slide. Yeah. So for the secondary documents, there comes the business registration issued by the relevant authority, whoever is doing the registration process. Then there should be business tax report, business activity statement, payroll tax receipts, personal income tax return if applicable. So something relevant to that. So if there are any even compliance letters or practice certificate issued by the relevant authority, they should be there too. So not necessarily a company should have all of those documents, or maybe they might not be willing to provide you that. However, if you are getting engaged into ABN employment, it's better that you know this information prior, so that before getting engaged with them, you give them a heads up that I will be needing this experience to claim for based on ABN, and I would require some of the documents from your end, which I will be submitting to Engineers Australia. I will not be using it for any sort of personal preference. So just need to negotiate this thing with your employer and see that whether they provide you any sort of update or not, or anything like that. But it's better that you get this thing approved prior to the application submission, because if there is anything missing and then Engineers Australia requests some documents from here and you are unable to provide that, then they might not give you the outcome and you'll be losing the money. So let's not take that risk. If you are still confused about how to get your experience assessed, maybe based on the ABN employment, then certainly feel free to give us a call and we'll have a quick discussion on that. So let's see what happens. So yeah, so that's all I have for the time being. It's pretty straightforward. If you have anything to discuss, then certainly feel free to give us a call, or our email address is there. If you need a further PR consultancy as well, we'll be happy to provide you. So I'll just mention this thing. Okay, so we are back here. So for Engineers Australia, mostly people go for their skill assessment or based on the qualification. Either it's Washington Accords or other Accords, or the most popular one, the CDR one. So sometimes if you have any sort of experience in terms of engineering professions, whether it's overseas, whether it's in Australia, you can go ahead if you follow this procedure. But just make sure that even the documents which we will be providing, you just need to make sure that everything is in proper format and standard. What I mean by proper format and standard is that also check the quality of the documents which you are submitting. If you are confused about something, just feel free to make a consultation with a registered migration agent, because at the end of the day, it's your money. And now if there is any issue which you are not getting through, or due to some sort of documentary problem or anything, then it's your money you'll lose. So, so we are expert in this field. We have, if you go through our reviews on different platforms, you will see that people who were maybe facing issues with their application before, then they came back to us, then they came to us, and then we were able to give them the proper consultation and guidance, and then they get their desired outcome. So we are growing based on the service which we are providing, and so that, I mean, and it also, the benefit is also mutual. You are also one step closer to your dream pathway, which is the PR. Since I haven't got any relevant question, so I just need to make sure that I just need to inform that Victoria is currently open. They are running their registration of interest, like ROI portal submission is currently open. They will keep it open up to April around 28 or 29 next year. There will be no submission window. There is no deadline in the between. Although they didn't mention anything about their um, invitation round this time, but we are expecting, or we are assuming based on the information which we got from our registered migration agent, that they might run an invitation round every month or every 2 months. It's not 100% guaranteed. We are still waiting for the first round to come through. We received one invitation, couple of invitations actually for Canberra Matrix today. So that means Canberra could be an ideal option for you as well if you are struggling to get into a state nomination, maybe to different states. For example, Victoria requires work experience to in your skilled occupation, and also you need to meet the target sectors. So if you want to discuss about the target sectors, feel free to give us a call. We'll tell you how you can get your this desired the nomination pathway, whether it is 190,491, and how you can prepare your ROI statement, which is a registration of interest. Western Australia is also open for nomination, and the good thing is they have pretty bigger occupation list this time, particularly for accountants. This could be a major opportunity. With just a simple job offer, you might meet the requirement for 190,491. However, there would be certain procedures involved here as well. So just feel free to give us a call if you are interested in applying for Western Australia nomination. One good thing about Western Australia nomination is that you do not need to move to Western Australia in order to apply for the nomination. So you can apply from Victoria as well, but you just need to have a job offer, and there are certain procedures involved. So if you want to know further, just feel free to give us a call to book an appointment with the registered migration agent. South Australia is also open at the moment. If South Australia is also pretty big quota allocation this time, and we are kind of hopeful that they will be sending invitations at bigger groups, and they are pretty quicker as well. South Australia also has talent and innovators program. If you are stuck at 90 points and not getting anything, but you have some sort of experience, you can be eligible for South Australia nomination through Talent and Innovators program without even meeting that 6 months or 1 year of, or maybe 2 years of work experience. So we can also help you with that process as well. If you are interested, then also you need to contact us, or I mean, we will be providing you further updates on that. Please keep an eye on the social media, how we are getting it, how we are promoting promoting different activities. we have our PT classes with trained by our expert PT trainers as well. Um, we are going to provide further updates soon. Today, New Sydney RDA was also open. Unfortunately, it's not a good news for accountants. However, we are still waiting for New South Wales other regional areas, I mean, to provide a complete update. New South Wales 190, although they are not completely open, but they, considering the fact that they have pretty good code allocations, this could be a very good opportunity for this financial year, particularly for people who have been waiting for long. Just so as of now, we have these updates. So just to remind you what, just a quick recap on what we have discussed. We discussed about engineers Australia experience assessment. If you're onshore or offshore, how you can get the experience assessed. Followed by different states update, and if there is anything we need to make sure that you need to remember. So anyway, so that's all the updates I have for the time being. If you have just joined or if you missed the session from the beginning, you don't need to get concerned about that. The video will be on our different social media platforms, particularly Facebook and YouTube as well. You can come and see the full sessions anytime you want. We have also we also have our comment section as well. You can also drop your queries over there, and one of our friendly staff members will be in touch with you. Whether you are overseas, whether you are here, we are available through our phone calls, WhatsApp, even through the Zoom as well. As we know that we are in Australia's most of the states are under lockdown, but you don't need to be worried about that. We are proactive, even we are working from home. So Smile Gul, I could see that you wrote, I want join. So if you are willing to join any of your PT session or anything which you might be interested in, we have the contact details over there. So just feel free to give us a call or contact so that one of us can help you with that your process. So just to wrap up, yes, I'm Farhad from Think Tank Consultants. Today is also a very important day for all of us as well. So for particularly for Muslim community. So Eid Mubarak to everyone who are celebrating today. So stay safe. May your sacrifice be accepted by the Almighty. So just stay connected with us. We will be coming live again with a new topic to discuss. So till then, stay safe, take care, and maintain the government regulations in terms of COVID safety plan. Thank you very much.